Very small update to the spreadsheet, but I need to make a video on it because I'm sort of wary about overloading with too much information. But hopefully you're aware of the bubbles and how they work, based on based on retail herd behavior, and that this is a strong buy and then this is a strong sell. For the reason for these guys being completely counter trend, and they tend to lose money. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. And I thought it would be a great idea is to have sentiment bubbles, which we have got, but also fundamental bubbles, so we can check whether or not we are risk on or risk off. So um, this is the new deployment of Safehaven versus risk assets. So it's the same logic, where this section's buy and this section is sell, and what it is calculated on the VIX, where we are currently in this moment in time, is actually updated every 60 seconds, so it's incredibly accurate, and it measures where we are this minute to where we were 2 days ago. Now, the reason why it's a 48-hour period is because if we did one day, we can get a lot of intraday chop. Over 2 days, it should be stronger and more reliable. So currently we've moved quite a lot on the VIX. We've moved 4.32 basis points. So that's actually quite strong for the VIX. So it's telling us there's a greater uncertainty over time, and so the safe havens are in demand. And so basically it's quite simple. And because the safe havens are in demand, it means that the risk assets are less in demand. We'd want to sell these potentially and buy these. And so safe havens are your USD, yen, Swiss. Risk assets are Aussie, Kiwi, Euro, Pound, and potentially crypto and altcoins. But we've yet to really find, when we get a big puke on in S&P, we've yet to really see the effect on crypto to see how they correlate. So we could maybe count crypto in risk assets. I don't know if they're really a safe haven, to be honest with you. But as long as what is a safe haven, what is a risk asset, then you should be okay. And just note that this is the buy section and this is the sell section. Now, just the one last thing on this video is that on the bubbles, we've got quadrants. We've got 4 quadrants. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. There's quarters. Here we've got halves. So all we're interested in is this whole section, which is buy, and this whole section, which is sell. And when we get a big risk event, let's say maybe maybe Iran are gonna redeploy their testing on nuclear weapons, and they've gone against some sort of a decree from the US. The US have bombed Syria. Iran aren't happy. Putin gets involved. Something like a big risk event, or even potentially like a disaster or something like that. Like an earthquake in San Francisco or something big and risk event. Um, what will happen? The safe haven will skyrocket, and the VIX will appreciate over time. So we see how the VIX is actually moving every 60 seconds. So when we get a big risk event, this bubble will come up higher. That does simply mean it's more of a buy when it comes up. And that when the risk asset gets higher, it simply means it's more of a sell. Okay, so we're only dealing in halves. With the bubbles, we're dealing with quadrants. So this is a little bit more complex than the risk bubbles. This is easier to understand. So as long as you're comfortable with what is a safe haven and what's a risk asset, this should be very useful for you. Remember to hover your mouse over so you can see the metric. It's minus 4.06. If that number increases, it comes away from the zero line, then we're going to be more risk off. If we get closer to the zero line and these two interchange, then we'll get to all-time high on the S&P. And that would mean that the dollar weakens, and that would be good for us. So for us currently in our setup for our signals, we want these bubbles to converge over time. We don't really want them to diverge currently because we have risk on signals. So hopefully it helps. If it's confusing at all, let me know, and then I'll help you, and I'll try and maybe write some article about it or something like that. But I think it should be fine. Just remember, this is the buy section, and this is the sell section. And if you can try and use this with the bubbles, then that would be great. We see we've got a bit of a discrepancy with the Aussie at the moment because the Aussie is strong buy, but yet it's not really a safe haven at all. In fact, it's like the opposite. So there's telling us there's something that's gonna this could either reverse, which I think is quite likely because I think Powell's going to try and soothe the market, and in doing so, they'll hammer the VIX down, and it'll get crushed, and it'll be extermination of the bears. And so it could be that this is actually correct, and then this is likely to going to reverse. So if you get the two to agree, that'd be great. And it'd be very interesting to see what happens when Powell talks later. I think what we'll see this bubble come across and gravitate over time, and it will switch over the fence, and the risk asset then will be in demand, and then we can go long indices and sell USD. So hopefully it helps. I think it's a great new addition, and hopefully you guys use it. I'm going to keep an eye on it and stuff, and I'll let you know if we do get an interchange, and it should be quite good and very useful. So yeah, hopefully it helps, and I'll speak to you guys in a bit.